This week on ANN, the Adventist Church helps organize a United Nations symposium on human rights and migrants of refugees.
Adventists in Northern Ireland joined faith communities in honoring International Holocaust Remembrance Day.
And the church's humanitarian arm launches a hygienic campaign and distribution in response to Zambia's cholera crisis.
These stories and more coming up.
First in the news, the Adventist Church's leader of religious liberty advocacy pledged to the United Nations to help change the narrative about migrants and refugees.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church was a co-sponsor of the UN's 4th annual symposium on the role of religion and faith-based organizations in international affairs.
Yeah, and 250 representatives from the UN, religious groups, and non-governmental organizations attended the event on January 22nd.
We reported on this event last week with the emphasis on the panel discussion that featured the president of the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, Jonathan Duffy.
The UN Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, was among the symposium's presenters. The discussions focused on the need to see refugees and migrants as vulnerable individuals who must be treated with respect and compassion.
Mohammed urged the participants to tirelessly assert the human rights and dignity of migrants and refugees, independent of national interests and agendas.
It is estimated that 65.6 million people were displaced from their homes last year. Nearly half of those are migrant children.
Ganoun Diop, Director of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, shared the church's support of this human rights campaign. Diop said the Adventist Church remains committed to helping alleviate the suffering of displaced people.
And he also highlighted the Adventist Church portfolio of services, including its focus on healthcare, worldwide education network, and the global humanitarian work of ADRA.
The symposium was the 4th time the Adventist Church has helped bring together the faith-based international community to the UN to discuss significant global issues.
Last Saturday, January 27th, was the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. The annual day is set aside to mourn the millions who've lost their lives during Nazi persecution. It also creates the opportunity to underscore the importance of rejecting all forms of racism, violence, and anti-Semitism. This year's theme was Holocaust Remembrance and Education, our shared responsibility. January 27th is designated to mark the day the Nazi concentration and extermination camp of Auschwitz was liberated in 1945. Auschwitz was the largest Nazi death camp. Numerous vigils and ceremonies were carried out worldwide in honor of victims of genocide. Services also included reflection of subsequent genocides in recent history, including Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia, and Darfur. The Seventh-day Adventist Church was represented at the Northern Ireland commemoration in honor of International Holocaust Remembrance Day. The Adventist pastor who attended the event, Wyers Corster, wrote a statement of reflection. In it, he said, Seventh-day Adventists share the sentiment of longing for a better time and better place. We believe that there's a tremendous battle between good and evil in this world. There's no reason to think that the world we live in will of its own become free of violence and hatred. As we join with others around the world this weekend to remember the horrors and the pain of the Holocaust, we do so humbly searching for our own prejudice and praying for the coming of our Messiah to inaugurate a new creation and a world free from evil, violence, and pain.
Officials in Zambia have announced that the country's cholera crisis may be on the decline. The decline doesn't take away from the nearly 4,000 cases that have been identified since October. Further, the disease has claimed at least 74 lives. Cholera is a waterborne bacteria disease that causes severe dehydration and diarrhea. The crisis led the Zambian government to restrict public gatherings and shut down schools throughout the month of January. According to the Adventist Development and Relief Agency branch in Zambia, 7 out of the nation's 10 provinces have been affected. ADRA workers, in response, distributed hygienic kits to 245 households. The nearly 1,500 people in the receiving households now have safe water containers, waste bins, and soap for bathing and laundry. In addition, ADRA will conduct a hygiene education campaign in partnership with local healthcare workers and the nation's Ministry of Health.
A nurse who served the Adventist Hospital in Australia for more than 4 decades was posthumously awarded an Australia Day of Honor last month. Glenys Chapman was a recipient of the Medal of the Order of Australia for her service to nursing and international outreach programs. Chapman passed away May 17, 2017. According to the Australian Honours Secretariat, recipients demonstrate those values that we need as a nation hold dear: compassion, civility, dedication, courage, kindness, tolerance, and energetic ambition. They inspire us all to be more enthusiastic in giving, to uphold the responsibility of being fully engaged citizens. During her time at Sydney Adventist Hospital, or SAN, she served as the hospital's international program for 21 years. Chapman traveled to Nepal as a volunteer for SAN's Open Heart International. There she served on the cleft lip and palate team and later served as project coordinator of the burn surgery team. Her final trip to Nepal was a month before she passed away. Chapman also worked with the Adventist Development and Relief Agency to develop a scholarship program that would allow 120 children to attend. In addition, she established a clean water drinking system at a local secondary school. After the Australia Day honors were announced, a SAN spokesperson remarked on Chapman's service. The spokeswoman said, throughout Glenny's life, she demonstrated selfless dedication and generosity in giving both to the SANs and other communities throughout her work and volunteering. Glenny will be remembered as an amazing colleague and friend who left her mark on SAN and all who knew her.
Coming up, 4 months after Hurricane Maria, Adventists are still traveling to Dominica to help rebuild the nation.
But up next, a new process is adopted for revisiting the documentation on procedures and reconciliation and adherence in the church governance, Phase 2.
Ich bin Gerald. Ich spreche Deutsch. Es gibt so viele gute adventistische Videos, doch so wenige sind übersetzt. Du kannst uns helfen.
Join the Amara translation and caption team today. Amara is easy to learn and fun. You can volunteer in your free time. Join this community today and provide great content in your language.
The Unity Oversight Committee released a statement last week regarding a way forward for procedures for reconciliation and adherence in church governance.
The Unity Oversight Committee met at the church's world headquarters on December 14th. It was led by its newly appointed chair, Mike Ryan, and Secretary Hensley Marubin.
At the meeting, the committee adopted a process for reviewing, then developing or revising a new document on the procedures for reconciliation and adherence in church governance, Phase 2.
The referred action to revise the document took place during the 2017 Annual Council Business Section. The adopted process includes gathering qualitative and quantitative data from the world field.
This will allow the committee to more accurately judge where Adventist leaders and members stand on issues relating to compliance with voted actions of the church's highest governing bodies.
The qualitative data will be gathered through personal visits and dialogues with leaders of the 13 world regions and attached Middle East and North African territory.
Qualitative data will also come from the institutions of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and the General Conference Leadership Council. The council is composed of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's officers and departmental leaders.
The Unity Oversight Committee will release additional material between now and the 2018 Annual Council meeting in Battle Creek, Michigan.
The Caribbean nation of Dominica is still recovering from Hurricane Maria. The Category 5 storm, which made landfall last September, affected tens of thousands of people. It is also considered the worst natural disaster in the country's history. The Adventist Church has been active in Dominica's recovery efforts in the immediate wake of the storm. Since then, churches, schools, and humanitarians have helped rebuild the nation in various ways. The church's Inter-America region sent a 20-foot container of buckets containing cleaning supplies to distribute to affected families. Another container, but twice its size, was sent from the Crawford Adventist Academy located in Toronto, Canada. The containers held food and household items for distribution. A team from the church's northeastern territory of the United States recently returned home after helping members rebuild their local church. However, another team from the same region is scheduled to travel to the nation later this month. On February 7th, a group from Trinidad is also expected to contribute to relief efforts. And finally, Maranatha Volunteers International, a supporting ministry of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, recently concluded their own assessments. The ministry aims to identify areas in most need of its construction services.
The faith-based show that highlights the wonders of creation through stories of rescue animals is set to return to Hope Channel on Friday, February 1st. The second season of Animal Encounters was filmed in the Central American nation of Costa Rica. Costa Rica has the Earth's largest biodiversity of animals and plants. Here's a glimpse of season 2.
I can't wait to see them again. It's been a few years since we've traveled together. It will be so much fun to talk and catch up, and to travel together again.
In this trip, I was so touched to see how cruel some human beings can be towards so many animals. And yet, I met so many good people that are willing to save the animals' lives.
Nature is so important to me. We need to learn to enjoy beautiful moments and be thankful, because those are like beautiful, special, handmade gifts from God to us.
After all the research that has been done, there's still so much we don't know. So much yet to be discovered. It tells me something about the greatness of the Creator God, the diversity, all the animals unique in their own way, very creative, very special.
Check your local listings on Friday to find out what time you can catch the premiere of Animal Encounters Season 2 on Hope Channel. You can also learn more about the series by visiting facebook.com/AnimalEncountersTV.
Adventism in Bolivia is steadily growing. Leaders attribute the growth to local members meeting the needs of their community. But with the increase in membership comes the increased need for church structures, particularly in rural areas. In the following report, Henry Bindizabal, the treasurer of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's Bolivia territory, shares the successes and challenges of the church in this nation. Maranatha Volunteers International has more.
This spirit of outreach is especially evident in Cochabamba. Cochabamba is both a city and a region located in the central part of the country. It is the agricultural heartland of Bolivia thanks to the area's mild climate and fertile soil. But Cochabamba isn't a quaint farming town. It is the fourth biggest city in Bolivia with more than 800,000 residents. Life in the city is an interesting mix of modern advancements and enduring traditions. Here in the region of Cochabamba, there are more than 18,000 Seventh-day Adventists and 152 congregations. Unfortunately, there is a shortage of churches. At least 60 groups are in need of a building. Some congregations have beautiful sanctuaries. Many, like this one on the outskirts of the city, are struggling to find a decent place to worship. This is the 20 de Octubre congregation. They were born from the outreach efforts of Benedicto Ventura. Benedicto lived in a different town, but he used to travel to this neighborhood to share food as outreach. Eventually, Benedicto and his wife moved to the area to plant a church. 3 people began meeting as a result. Eventually, 14 were baptized following an evangelism campaign. Today, there are 35 members of the 20 de Octubre Church. They meet regularly in this borrowed shed. It is hardly worthy to be called a place of worship, but it is all they have. One day, the congregation hopes to build a real church. Benedicto and his wife even purchased land, but there is no money to build a structure. In the meantime, the group continues to minister to the local community. On the other side of Cochabamba, another family is busy growing a church. This is Alta Mirador. 6 years ago, Maximo Tito and his wife Alejandra started this group with their family. The congregation has attracted lots of young people who are seeking community, friendship, and faith. Every Sabbath, more than 80 people gather for worship. They meet in this unfinished space located on the Maximo's property. Not everyone can fit inside. They would like to build a church on the property, but the congregation has little to no money. Unfortunately, the church's enthusiasm is being stifled by the lack of space. Both 20 de Octubre and Alta Mirador represent a challenge in Cochabamba and throughout the country.
La Iglesia Adventista viene creciendo de manera importante en Bolivia y eso también exige de que las inversiones y los recursos sean más necesarios. Cada día o cada mes nosotros estamos con nuevos lugares de predicación, están abriéndose de manera muy progresiva nuevos púlpitos para predicar y nuevos barrios están siendo penetrados, lo cual hace necesario la construcción de nuevos templos.
In 2018, at the request of Adventist leadership in Bolivia, Maranatha kicked off a long-term effort to build churches in Bolivia. The work will start in Cochabamba, then eventually move to other areas of the country.
Los nuevos templos que Maranatha pueda construir en Bolivia no solamente tendrán un impacto en nuestra iglesia. En nuestra iglesia el impacto será muy importante ya que muchos hermanos que no tenían lugar para congregarse ahora podrán hacerlo junto a la familia, junto a la comunidad cristiana, un ambiente, un lugar para adorar a Dios. Pero también tendrá un impacto en la comunidad, en el barrio, en la población donde se construyan los templos, ya que la presencia de la iglesia en cada barrio, en cada comunidad, hace la diferencia.
Watch the full video at maranatha.org.
Coming up, see how you can make an impact on World Cancer Day.
But up next, is the Protestant Reformation over? The season finale of the Lineage series shares the answer.
As president of a 17 million member global church, I spend a lot of time traveling to visit our worldwide church. Unfortunately, even if I traveled every single day, I wouldn't be able to meet a fraction of our Seventh-day Adventist Church family. However, I want to share some experiences about our worldwide family. This is why the General Conference Communication Department is launching a new blog called Presidential Perspectives. Now, this page will be used to share sermons, articles, photos, and videos from the Office of the President. So stop by and get to know us at perspectives.adventist.org.
Welcome back.
Lineage has taken us through the spiritual journey of religious groups who adhere to biblical truths above all else.
It can be argued that what began as early as the 5th century still continues today.
Learn more in the season finale of Lineage called Is the Reformation Over?
Our spiritual lineage is a rich one, with many illustrious names stretching back to the earliest centuries. We started this journey tracing our spiritual lineage with the Celtic Church in Britain. We saw that as early as the 5th and 6th centuries, and lasting to the 12th century, there were Christians who were trying to maintain a faith based on their understanding of God's Word. The Waldensians of northern Italy were another such group who could trace their origins centuries back. The faith and belief of groups such as these stood in conflict with the claims from Rome that they were the Mother Church, and so they sought to either convert or destroy them. In an era of immense darkness, John Wycliffe arose, the morning star. Whilst he did not start a new church, by translating the Bible and through his teachings, he was able to peel back the layers of night that had descended during the Dark Ages. John Wycliffe was followed by Huss and Jerome, two brave men in Prague. A century later, Martin Luther arose in Germany, Zwingli in Switzerland, Farel and Calvin in France, and then Switzerland, all great men who went against the grain and remained true to their convictions. In Britain, William Tyndale would produce a beautiful translation of the Bible, something that would cost him his life. It was not an easy time to be a believer, but slowly and surely the light was beginning to shine. Proverbs 4 verse 18 says that the path of the just is as a shining light that shines ever brighter unto the perfect day, meaning that when God reveals truth to us, whether individually or collectively, He does it bit by bit. The sun does not just appear in the morning, but it comes over the horizon gradually, and so God gives us truth in bite-sized pieces. And so with the church, each reformer built on the steps of those who had come before them. The truth of justification, sanctification, baptism, Christian charity, freedom, and the second coming all came back gradually. Each of the reformers did not always agree with each other, but God used each one. As the Dark Ages ended in 1798 with the close of the 1260-year prophecy, and as the world entered a time period known as the time of the end, the prophecy said that knowledge would increase. This is not to be interpreted of knowledge of science or technology, but knowledge of the books of the Bible. In particular, Daniel and Revelation would be unveiled as we neared the end. Despite the huge gains that had taken place during the Reformation, Revelation 12 points out that after the woman or the church would come out of persecution at the end of the 1260 years prophecy, that God would have a remnant at the end of time. A remnant who, as Revelation 12 verse 17 points out, would keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. But who would this be? And how would God lead His people in the 19th, 20th and 21st centuries? Join us next season as we continue this journey and explore our spiritual lineage through time.
We hope you enjoyed the Lineage series. You can always visit lineagejourney.com to watch previous episodes.
Production for the next season is already underway. Visit their website and social media accounts for news about Season 2.
The theme for this year's World Cancer Day is We Can, I Can. The international campaign urges individuals to help reduce the global burden of cancer.
Emily Mastrapa is here to show you how you can join the cause online.
Cancer is among the leading causes of death worldwide. Currently, over 8 million people die from cancer worldwide every year. This Sunday, February 4, is World Cancer Day. World Cancer Day is the ideal opportunity to spread the word of cancer in people's minds and in social media. It aims to save millions of preventable deaths each year by raising awareness and education about the disease. It also presses governments and individuals across the world to take action. Whether you run your own World Cancer Day campaign or share a message on social media, every action has an impact. WorldCancerDay.org has a lot of great materials to help you spread the word. You can even find pre-made templates to use on social media. On the website, they also have a map of impact. The interactive map aims to feature all of the events taking place on World Cancer Day. You can add what you're doing to the map and share it with others. For more information and for materials, visit WorldCancerDay.org. You can also follow their Instagram and Facebook pages at World Cancer Day. The hashtag to use is World Cancer Day or We Can, I Can. Join us and show your support for a cancer-free world.
And finally, for today's program, let's turn to Ashley Chisholm for a look at Adventist history.
This week, hear beautiful poetry of an American minister whose work was regularly featured in the Adventist Review and Sabbath Herald in the late 18th century.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On January 30th, 1894, a poem written by Lorenzo de Santee was published in the pages of the Advent Review and Sabbath Herald. Santee was born in Hornell, New York on September 19, 1845. He studied at Tremont College, taught public school, and married Alice Merritt on March 4, 1869. Together, they had 6 children. Shortly after marrying Alice, Santee decided to devote himself to the gospel ministry and was ordained by James White in 1876. He pioneered the Advent message in the states of Kansas and Illinois, and he had the English-speaking churches of the city of Chicago, Illinois, under his care. After Santee's death in Pasadena, California on September 3, 1919, a friend wrote of him, quote, "His piety was free from pretension, and his Christian experience was like the flow of a deep and noiseless river whose source is in living mountain springs." Santee thoroughly enjoyed expressing himself through composing poems, which often appeared in the Review on and off throughout the span of over 50 years. Indeed, his obituary in the Review concludes with another of his poems. We'll conclude today with the words of Santee's poem from This Week in Adventist History, titled "The Beautiful Days of Heaven." They shall dawn in their wonderful brightness, those beautiful days of peace, when the heart shall thrill in its lightness and weariness ever cease. Forever past is all earthly night and the sorrow that earth has given, and hope illumes with colors bright the beautiful days of heaven. O days that shall dawn pure and holy in the beautiful courts above, where the pure, the meek, and the lowly shall bask in a Savior's love, where pain and weeping come never, and no heart is with anguish riven. O forever and ever are the beautiful days of heaven. In that land where none ever weary, and none ever faint by the way, no life is loveless and dreary in the shadowless gates of day. In its bowers is never the trail of sin, but a perfect peace is given, and the coming of Christ shall usher in the beautiful days of heaven.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We'd love to hear from you. Send us your feedback and tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details. And feel free to send full video reports as well.
You can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 9.
The passage says, "Understand therefore that the Lord your God is indeed God. He is the faithful God who keeps his covenant for 1,000 generations and lavishes his unfailing love on those who love him and keep his commandments."
Amen. That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.